Hello, this video will be the first in a series in which I cover some problems from practice problem set 3-5. In this practice problem set, we're translating individual statements from English to the language of truth functional logic. And before working on 3-5, I think it would be a good idea for you to spend some time on 3-3 and 3-4. In those practice problem sets, I have given you variable assignments that you can use throughout each practice problem set. However, when we get to 3-5, we have to do our own variable assignments. And variable assignments are often one of the things about translation that gives students the greatest difficulty. That's also why I'm going to make several videos about this practice problem assignment, our practice problem set for you. Let me start with number 2, which says, carbofuran was once a popular farm pesticide used to target foxes and raccoons. Well, I'm noticing the word and here. That's a key word. I know that the word and is a way of expressing the logical relationship of conjunction. So I know that overall the sentence in number 2 is a conjunction. Now I need to think about assigning the variables. Let me remind you about 3 things about variable letters in the language of truth functional logic. First, variable letters have to stand for simple statements. By that I mean a statement that cannot be broken up into more parts, which are themselves statements. Secondly, each variable letter needs to stand for a complete sentence. Third, every variable letter has to stand for an affirmative statement. That is a statement that says something is true rather than a statement that says something is false. We use the negation sign when translating statements that say something is false. That doesn't come up in number 2, but it will come up in a little bit here. All right. Another thing about variables is that we always start with the letter P and proceed up as far up the alphabet as need be. That is determined by how many simple sentences there are in whatever it is we're translating. And I don't start out with any assumption about how many variables I'm going to need for any particular translation. Well, here I could just let P stand for carbofuran was once a popular farm pesticide used to target foxes. I have to stop there, otherwise I will have a compound statement. The word and would be introducing another conjunct. Now, and is giving a logical symbol, and then after the word and, we have just simply one word, the word raccoons. Obviously, the word raccoons is not a complete sentence, but I can easily go back to earlier in this sentence to form a complete sentence that's about raccoons. Basically, it's going to be the same sentence that P stands for, with one difference. Instead of the word foxes, we'll have the word raccoons. Well, I already noticed the word and here, and I know that the word and represents, is used to express conjunction, and that in the language of truth functional logic, we represent conjunction with this symbol known as the ampersand. So given this variable assignment, our translation for number 2 would just simply be P ampersand Q. I'm going to turn next to number 4, which reads as follows. Michelle Obama enjoys her food, but tries to eat healthy. Our key here is the word but. The word but expresses contrast. Contrast is not a logical relationship. That's not to say it's illogical or something like that. It's just to say it's outside of the realm of logic. It's something quite different. However, whenever a contrast word or phrase expresses a logical relationship, the logical relationship that it expresses is conjunction. And clearly, number 4 is telling us that two things are true. One of them is that Michelle Obama enjoys her food, and the other is that she tries to eat healthy. So clearly, the word but here is expressing the logical relationship of conjunction. Let's get our variables set up. Let P stand for Michelle Obama enjoy her food. Now when I get to the assignment for Q, if I begin this with the pronoun she, well, there's only one person to whom she could refer, namely to Michelle Obama. So that's why it's okay to use she instead of repeating her name. It's also okay to repeat her name if you want. And again, the word but is the key word here when it comes to the logic of this. That's a contrast word, and contrast words and phrases, when they express any logical relationship at all, express conjunction. So given this assignment for P and Q, our translation would be P ampersand Q. Let's move now to number 5, which says, though the United States is a superpower, there are real limits to what we can do alone. The key word here is the word though. The word though is a contrast word, and it is expressing a logical relationship here. It's telling us that both of the two things after it are true. Now, the fact that the word though comes at the beginning in number 5 really does not matter. In number 4, the contrast word that was also expressing conjunction was in the middle, whereas in 5, the contrast word that's expressing conjunction is at the beginning. But that makes no difference to our translation. Let P stand for the United States as a superpower. Then the next complete sentence here would be, there are real limits to what we can do alone. We're looking at a conjunction signaled by the word though. The ampersand that we use to represent conjunction always has to come between the two conjuncts. Doesn't matter that the word though is at the beginning of Vice President Harris's sentence. The ampersand still goes between the two conjuncts. All right, next I want to go down to number 7, which says, well, bald eagles are no longer listed under the Endangered Species Act. They are still rare. While, W-H-I-L-E, is functioning here as a contrast word and also being used to express conjunction. One conjunct, however, as it's stated in the original English, is a negation. Bald eagles are no longer listed under the Endangered Species Act. That's telling us something is false. So we cannot let P stand for that. We will have to get an affirmative statement from that and let P stand for the affirmative statement. How about if we let P stand for bald eagles are listed under the Endangered Species Act? And then our first conjunct would be the negation of P, getting that negation from where it says no in the original sentence. Let me go ahead and finish up the variable assignment. Let Q stand for they are rare. And then Q will be our second conjunct here. So for this one we get negation sign P ampersand Q. In this video, I'll just do one more problem. That's number 9, which says Ho-Yen Chan and Jessica Lepetich are both not planning to visit family for the Thanksgiving holiday. Our key here is both not. The word both is a way of expressing conjunction. Not, of course, indicates negation. So the phrase both not tells us that overall we're looking at a conjunction. Both comes first, so it's, you could say, more important than not here. We're looking at a conjunction, and each conjunct is going to be a negation. And think about it, that corresponds to how you would naturally understand this. Ho-Yen Chan and Jessica Lepetich are both not planning to visit family for the Thanksgiving holiday. That tells us that Ho-Yen Chan is not planning to visit family for the Thanksgiving holiday, and it tells us that Jessica Lepetich is not planning to visit family for the Thanksgiving holiday. Let me get the variables assignments up on the board. And again, we'll get negation sign P, telling us Ho-Yen Chan is not planning to do this, ampersand, and negation sign Q, telling us that Jessica Lepetich is not planning to do this. By the way, for this one, it would be a mistake to have P ampersand Q inside of parentheses with a negation sign in front of it. This corresponds to not both, but the original didn't say not both. The original said both not, and those are two different logical structures which are not truth functionally equivalent to one another. I hope this has been helpful for you. I will resume in another video going through some more of the problems from 3-5. Take care. Talk to you soon.